Uh,
There we go.
sure, but you're me.
It
Ah,
took
there
a
we go.
second for me to fix that. Hey, I'm new to this streaming thing.
Okay.
Hello everybody. Welcome to Stat Monkey Presents. Today we are doing an Ask Me Anything about Rotted Capes, currently up on Backer Kit right now. My guest for today is my good friend Henry Lopez, who's also
Hello,
the
everyone.
story guy and the creator of Arcanus, and my partner in Paradigm Concepts.
That's me. Hi, I'm Henry. Nice to meet you. Meet everyone.
Hey, so we're here today to talk about Roddy Capes. Henry's gotten a bunch of questions from people that have been asking about the system and about the game itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Henry giving me all the questions that he's been getting from players, and then once we're done with that, we're going to open it to the floor to our watchers to ask any questions they want. We have some people on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitch. So we'll start with Henry. So, Henry, what do you want to
All right.
ask me as the stat monkey?
Me personally, nothing. But the backers do. The backers do. So since we started this on BackerKit and we announced that the new Rota Capes Second Bite was going to have a fundamentally different system than the original one, a lot of people were asking questions about what was the system like and whatnot. We, as you know, because you created it, we put up a fast play rule set that people can download for free on our BackerKit site, as well as a small, I don't know what you want to call it, a little what I changed from first edition to second edition kind of thing. On there that you can also download. And you can see for yourself. However, one thing that has thrown people off is you mentioned that it is, I don't know, the correct word would be it takes certain elements from 5e
Mm-hmm.
and melds it with the best elements from the first edition of Rotted Caves. This threw off quite a few people. Some people panicked, thinking that, oh my gosh, this is just straight 5e. You know, I'm going to have to deal with classes and whatnot. So let's set the record straight. Okay, let's start from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and ask you, as the stat monkey, what did you do, or what elements did you take from first edition Rotted Capes and from fifth edition D&D, D20, whatever you want to call it, okay,
Got it. Yep.
and meld them together. So let's start with that.
So, I got the what I felt were some of the strongest parts of the original Rotted Capes. I kept archetypes and and origins. They are pretty much the same. There are no classes in Rotted Capes. You pick your origin, how you get your powers, your archetype, kind of how you use them. But after character creation, you're not tied to that archetype after that. The I kept the way powers work. They work pretty much the same way they worked in the original system. Gear looks very familiar. Um, After that, I pretty much redesigned a lot of it. We still have plot dice are replaced with plot points. They work the same exact way, but instead of a dice, they give you a point that you could use to reroll dice, rewrite the scene, do the impossible with with the editor in chief's approval, or have the editor in chief reroll an attack roll or something on you. Um, what we brought over from
Hold
5e
on, hold
is
on, hold on. Just one,
yes,
one. You forgot burnout. You kept burnout.
yes, I kept
Burnout.
burnout for sure. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I kept burnout
Okay.
for sure. I
Right.
kept burnout.
Right.
Yeah, the powers work very much like the original system. They all have a burnout value. When you get to your burnout level, you have to make a check or you burn out. The check is a little different now because instead of rolling the dice, you roll a d20. And the way it works is once you reach your burnout threshold, for every turn that you are above your burnout threshold during the scene, the DC goes up by 5. So at first, it's only a 5. then it's a 10, then it's a 15. Then you have to roll a nat 20 to keep your powers for the rest of the scene. So the burnout's still there, and it's just as unforgiving. Actually, it's a little bit more unforgiving than it used to be. Um, so what I brought over from 5th edition is the ability scores. Um, the way ability scores are tracked was also brought over to powers. So ability scores go all the way to 40. You could have a strength of 25 and a telekinesis of 25. They will both pick up the same amount of weight, and if you're doing like an attack, they'll both be doing the same amount of damage. So it's still just like the original Riot Capes. It's a universal chart for powers and ability scores. Um, we have feats, though the feats aren't straight out of 5th edition. There are feats. They're a little less powerful, and the reason why is you'll understand once we get to character advancement. Every origin now has origin traits, which are a list of special feats that only that origin gets, which helps differentiate them more from each other. Because the original system, after character creation, there really wasn't much that separated a tech hero from, let's say, like an alien. There wasn't much after character creation because there was nothing to kind of reinforce it as you went up. Um, what else did we keep? Uh, the base die mechanic, roll d20, modifiers to hit a target number, and the action economy we brought over from 5th edition. You have an action, a bonus action, you could move, and you have free actions. We threw something into the mix though. We have demanding actions that we brought over from the original game and brought it over into the 5th edition rule set. A demanding action is an action that you start on your turn, it takes your entire turn to do it, and it kicks in at the beginning of your next turn. So it's like, a telekinetic trying to do something very complicated, like holding up a bunch of bricks falling down or something could be a demanding action, or picking a lock could be a demanding action. Um, Other than that, everything else is new. Um, Detailed skills from the original and from 5th edition are thrown out. Instead, now you have something called skill sets. Skill sets are a little description that you write of your character's skill sets. For example, masked detective, ex-Navy SEAL. You describe your character's skill sets. During the game, when the editor-in-chief describes a scene or issues a challenge, you could say, hey, I think my skill set applies with my intelligence. I'm an ex-Navy SEAL. I've dealt with military technology. I should be able to figure this out using my intelligence and my military expertise. Go ahead and roll. So it creates a lot more. Players are encouraged more to really think outside the box, and your skill sets now kind of like define your background of what you were before you were a hero, or the kind of hero you are. Other than that, that's everything I kept from 5th edition, and I kept from the original. A lot of things have been redesigned. Um, threat creation has been completely redesigned. Threats used to take way too long to make. Now you can make a threat easily in about 5 minutes. So for GMs, complete game changer. You can just make threats really quick. Um, yeah, that's pretty much everything from 5th edition and ARG. I mean, 5th edition and the original Riot Capes I brought together.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, then if you played the original Rotted Capes,
Mm-hmm.
it should be a very easy learning curve.
Oh, it's very
If you
easy.
never played,
The learning curve is very easy.
if you never played Rotted Capes, but you played 5th edition, it should be a fairly easy learning curve, right? And if you played both, it should be very, very simple for you just to pick up the one or two really nuanced changes that don't apply to either one and get going with it. Correct?
Correct. Correct. If you played either system, it's going to be a quick pickup for you. A lot of the, especially the old school Rider Capes players, power tricks, they work exactly the same as before. Emulated powers, exactly the same. Heck, all the powers are back. Uh, Most of the language in the powers remain the same. I just cleaned up some powers here and there, but when you read the powers, they read just like they read in the original system. Um, so yeah, our players will be able to. I mean, sorry, original Roddy Caves players will be able to pick it up quick. I keep saying ARG, and fifth edition players will pick it up in a heartbeat. I mean, I've run it for both. Uh, as during Origins, I ran two tables. One was all brand new players, and one was actually two old Rotted Capes players. They picked up the game in like 10 seconds, and they really liked it. They were like, "Oh, it ran faster," which they enjoyed. Um, yeah.
So just to clarify, the reason Pete keeps um, saying ARG is because he first designed the Arcanist role playing game
Yep.
ARG, and then built Rotted Capes on as a modification of that system. And so in our minds, ARG and Rotted Capes are kind of
Yeah,
inter.
for me they're both like two mirrors of the same system, and I keep
Right,
referring to them
exactly.
that way.
So
Oh,
you have to excuse them.
one more thing I changed from fifth edition, and
Okay.
I kept from ARG. I mean from from Brody Capes. Uh,
Uh,
we don't have hit points. We have
right.
stamina and wounds, and Rotted Capes is infinitely more deadly than fifth edition. I'm warning players straight off the bat. It is
Right.
very deadly. Uh, the game could, on a few bad rolls against the players, something that you thought was in the bag suddenly becomes an act of desperation, which is great for stories. Um, it's not like you instantly will die, uh, but you can die pretty quickly in this game. Not only that, you can get infected really easy in this game. You have to be careful with zombies. You're running into melee all the time. You're basically playing the odds that sooner or later uh, you're gonna get Z'd. So
So let's talk about something that you alluded to earlier, which were levels and advancement. Right.
yes,
If can you tell us, are there levels, Pete?
yes. So the way the game works is heroes advance and level very quickly, but the advancements in level are very shallow. After every session, after every issue, every adventure, you advance one level. When you advance in a level, depending on little charts, you will have a choice between an origin feature, a feat of your choice, or you get +1 to all your powers. Um, every 10 levels, you start back at first level, but you go up to the next rank. So you start as hypothetically, let's say you are a beta level hero. Once you get to beta 10 and you go back down to 1, you're now an alpha 10. Um, and it goes all the way up from Ellipson all the way up to ultra level heroes or and villains, which are like our most powerful villains. Now, I do hint that there's other beyond ultra, like cosmic, but that's beyond the scope of this game. Um, but honestly, if a GM looks at the rules, it's really easy to extrapolate what will be the next level, power level, because it all follows the same mathematical advancement. Uh, but yeah, advancement does not work like D&D. It's very freeform. The players have a lot of choices. When you get a feat, you could use it to boost your ability scores. You could use it to boost your power levels. You could learn a power trick, or you could get one of the 90 freaking feats I wrote. Um, Origin features, a lot of them can be taken more than once, and they have a stacking bonus to them that really play into the art, what the origin is supposed to be about. Um, for like to give you an example, Tech Heroes, they have an origin feature that they could take up to 5 times, and every time they take it, they get a bonus on any challenge to understand and manipulate technology, because that's what they do. So the power, all the feats and the origin features, or all these little bonuses or things that you learn that really start to shape your character. You could learn maneuvers. You could actually pick up another power with the GM's permission. Like if you want to do a story where your skill-based hero gets hit with radiation and they start developing powers, you could do that in the game, and then you take feats that allow you to learn new powers. It's not a freebie; you have to pay for it. And you can also, there's a feat in there that is additional origin. So like you start as a skill based hero, you get blasted with cosmic energy, and now you get a additional origin, cosmic hero. It lets you, as you advance in level, tell some really interesting stories.
Right. Now, one of the things I did want to clarify, because I get this question a lot. Yes, the main conceit of the game as written as that you are B-listers, and let's explain what that means. B-listers are either the sidekicks or heroes that don't have the range or the depth of power that some of the alpha heroes have. However, it's all point buy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to start your game with all your players being alpha level,
Yep.
you just give them more points. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
Correct me, or
Basically,
am I
yeah,
wrong?
yeah. Well, there's two ways to do it.
Okay.
The easiest way to do it is actually make your character first level and just count how many feats and origin features you would get and just add them, because that's the best way to
Right.
really customize your character. And not only do higher rank heroes have a greater depth of powers and feats and abilities because they have more, but they dissipate burnout faster than B-listers. The higher rank you are, the faster you dissipate burnout, which is why an ultra level hero feels like they could go for days, while a B-lister gets exhausted right off the bat.
Right.
So that's like
Now, I
the
don't know.
major power levels differences.
Well, maybe it's just because I'm ancient, but I
Yes.
remember when I was a kid. Yes, ha ha ha. When I was a kid,
Well,
when I
those
was a
black
kid
and white
reading
comics, Henry.
no, not black and white. They were color, but they were Kirby, which made them better than everything else. So when I would read, for example, the Fantastic Four,
Mm-hmm.
when they were still in low digits, double digits, and whatnot, the Human Torch would actually burn out
Mm-hmm.
his powers constantly. He'd be flying and he'd do a supernova, and then he'd plummet from the sky, and Mister Fantastic would have to stretch over
Yep.
and that's basically where that concept came from, or it originated, and then
Mm-hmm.
Pete took it and ran with it. As far as continuing on with the Fantastic Four analogy, going with what Pete said about developing new powers. The Invisible Woman, which back then was the Invisible Girl, could only turn invisible. It was only issues later that she realized that she could create force fields and whatnot,
Yep.
which was a very different power. But it became now as a staple because she's had it since forever. So we really try to make this game as to emulate the comics as best we can.
Yep.
However, if your playstyle is higher level, harder hitting, you want everybody to be that alpha level, go at it. There's no problem. We just felt that the B-listers allowed you to augment the horror aspect more than if you were hyper competent and these amazing powers that could do just about anything, and the threat, the danger wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's your campaign. You play it as you wish.
Yeah. There's actually some optional rules in the game um, that I call brutal continuity, which they're basically, if you don't think the game is hard enough as it is, it could get much harder. I even have rules if you really want to delve into that aspect. I have rules for psychosis. If you want to play,
Excellent.
the fact that you're dealing with zombie apocalypse and that would break most people. If you really want to explore it, the rules are there. We have a question from somebody in the audience. Actually, it's a good one. Zilzaddy, are Are there alpha level zombies, or do they become weakened and their powers to some degree? No, they do not get weakened at all. Whatever level they're at, that's the level they become a super zombie at. They do get a little stronger, because they do gain some of the zombie traits like undead strength and stuff like that, and of course the ability to bite people and mutate them. But yeah, you could make a alpha level zombie. Actually, there's alpha level zombies in the book. Um, I think I actually did write up just to show you the power level. I think there's one ultra level zombie in the book. Um, but yeah, they don't lose their powers. Their powers are stuck at that point. Now, as a GM, you could always say that their powers can improve over time. I always felt that wherever they got Z'd, they're stuck. That's where their power level stays.
But that brings,
Now, yeah. Now you can always make
no, I'm just
a.
saying that. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead,
Go
Eddie.
ahead, Pete.
No, no, you.
I know there's a lag. After you, my friend.
Okay, fine. You could always have like there's a guy I made to play around with the idea that he's a superhuman, and he's basically, for the X-Men fans, he's the equivalent of Forge. He understands technology on a subconscious level. That guy can always make more powerful items, but his powers really shouldn't ever improve. Oh, by the way,
But one of the things that,
the only people that can become super zombies are demigods and superhumans. Everybody else turns into a dumb zombie.
right. One of the things that I think an innovation that we have in this edition that we didn't have in a previous edition was how easy it is to turn a superhero or a villain into a Z'd
Yep.
hero or villain. Um, Before you get into that, but just from a story point of view, I love seeing people get attached emotionally to an NPC, only for me to rip their hearts out by having something horrible happen to them because I'm that kind of GM.
You're
So
evil, bro.
yes, I am. But having a superhero, that's an NPC that's helping you guys out, and fighting the good fight for an issue, two, three, or four, and then all of a sudden something horrific occurs, or he shows up and he's been bitten, and you have to see him deteriorate. That's rough.
Yeah.
Mechanically, it's super simple because you take whatever stats he had, and Pete, what do?
You just throw a little template on it and you're done. The template literally takes
Exactly.
5 seconds to add on.
Exactly. Templates are so simple and very, very powerful from a GM's point of view, or an editor in chief, I should say, to be able to turn any NPCs that you have or whatnot. I mean, we give you a bunch of heroes, villains, alive or Z'd, that one of the live ones you can say, you know what? I love to make this guy a Z'd superhero or villain. No problem. Keep the stats, slap on the template, and you're done. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to correct.
Yeah, yeah. It's super quick to make a super zombie. Um, Somebody actually asked another good question. Scosi asked, "Would someone like Colossus be unzombie able because they can't really be bitten into, or do zombies in mass get special added powers?" Yes, they do. So, um, so armor or body armor or a power armor reduces how much damage you take. But zombies, when they're in a horde, I'll get into the horde mechanics in a second. They're really cool. Once zombies are in a horde, they get a +2 bonus to hit and damage, which is why our most powerful heroes in this game world that got turned into Z's were just drugged down by a horde of zombies. At some point, they get through. Um, and super zombies actually have a more powerful bite than normal zombies. They ignore a certain amount of armor. So a super zombie, uh, given time, will be able to get through like a Colossus's body armor. When you make a melee character, you'll notice that certain powers have burnout and a few powers don't. Any power that keeps you out of melee or gives you the ability to flee or anything like that has burnout. Anything that's static that puts you in melee doesn't have burnout. Like body armor doesn't have burnout. Claws doesn't have burnout because you're going to be constantly at risk in melee. So you could build a character with no burnout whatsoever, but you're going to be in the fight all the time, and it's a matter of time before a lucky crit gets through your armor and you have to start making a saving throw or turn into a zombie.
So, this is one of the things that Peter and I had a very lively discussion about introducing androids to the mix. You know, you're playing an android. Well, what's the threat? You can't get Z'd. Even if they get through your stuff, you're still an android. You're not biological.
Mm-hmm.
So the onus then falls on the editor in chief to create situations where the android suffers vicariously through what happens to their loved ones, through their bystanders, through the people that they're attached to. So before we go into horde mechanics, can you speak briefly upon those interactions with when you create a character, you also create
Yeah.
a a loving NPC family, if you will. You
Yes.
know?
Uh, One of the things that I experienced when I ran the first edition of Rotted Capes is that it kind of felt like the game would split into two parts. You had your Enclave drama, and then you had everything outside the Enclave. Um, in first edition, it pushed into that a little bit. In second edition, I really leaned into it. At the end of character creation, I kind of suggest that you do it as a slot 0, but really, you could do it any way you want. Each character gets to create two members of the supporting cast. These two members have some kind of personal attachment to the character. Maybe there's somebody you saved. Maybe there's somebody that saved you. Maybe they're family. The idea is that once the entire party creates all the supporting cast, you now have your enclave. Uh, the editor in chief could always throw in one or two more members of the enclave to spice things up. During hero creation, you could decide to use up one of your feats to make your supporting cast a little more capable, or you could decide to take a flaw to decide that one of the people you saved is your Aunt May and she really doesn't get around as she used to, or a child that you saved. A child would have no usable skills, so you could always say that you have a child. Um, so yeah, there's other ways to really affect the players. It's something I picked up a long time ago when I read John Wick's Play Dirty 1. There was an entire chapter saying attack attack the players attack the players with stuff not on their character sheet or something like that. Like the stuff important to the character. This game is not just about punching zombies. You can play that game. This game is about the people you are protecting in this world that's gone completely to crap. And the fact that they are relying on you as their only hope. Literally, you wear a cape and that inspires them to live on a few more days. Um, so yeah, if you're playing Android, if you think about old Star Trek, Data would have laid down his life for the Enterprise without a second thought. That's how you use a android in a game like Roddy Capes. Yeah, he doesn't get infected. Also, it sucks if he loses an arm. Who's gonna fix him?
Oh yeah. Well, the Andrew the Andrew was just an example. I mean, but for example, the Colossus kind of character.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, this person is going to want to feel again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
feel the touch, hug someone without breaking them like a teacup.
Yep.
You know, they're going to have to phase out of their metallic shell and be vulnerable.
Yep.
Perhaps that they can only sustain that metallic shell for X amount of time before boop. You know.
Actually, yeah, the alternate form um, power flaw has a limit
Right.
of how many hours you could keep it active. So it's not like you could live in your armored form. And you might think your enclave is perfectly safe until it's not.
Right. I
So
mean, at the end of the day, the idea is not to min max your character and make you immune to the threat that you're living in. I mean,
yeah,
that's like playing Doom on God mode.
yeah,
It's just yeah, it's fun for a few minutes, but then after a while, what am I doing? What's fun is create a character that is vulnerable. Create a character that has vulnerabilities, that has attachments, that really lives in the world. He or she or they are seeing the collapse of civilization, the collapse of everything they have fought for, and they are familiar with, and it's gone. A blink, it's gone. And as the heroes or even the villains, which is even better to play a villain, now has no choice because, what am I going to be the king of? The king of ashes? You have to team up with your worst enemy to build something.
hmm
And I think there's a lot of conflict available there, a lot of drama. And we not only do we allow it, but we encourage somebody to play that foil in the group. You can play it doesn't actually specify you must play a hero, you must play, X or Y. A nice change of different types of characters creates a nice melange for your for drama and for your group.
yeah. One of the personal flaws is former villain,
Yep.
and the flaw is that literally nobody trusts you, bro. You were a villain. Everybody's waiting for you to stab them in the back. They're like, we remembered you. Any minute now, you're gonna stab us in the back and run for it. We know what's gonna happen. So playing a villain has its challenges.
That, that,
Um,
that has to be a quote. Nobody trusts you, bro.
nobody trusts you, bro. I'm gonna write that in. Nobody trusts you, bro.
I like that.
Um,
That has to be a quote in the book.
yeah, we have to put that in there. But yeah, nobody trusts you. You're an ex-villain. And but yeah, even like an ex-villain like Arc Lightning, one of our standard characters, he's an ex-bank
Right.
robber. He's not a villain, and he's like, oh well, what am I gonna do now? There's zombies. Wow, I'm rich.
Yeah, exactly.
Priorities change. Um, One thing that I was asked before about Roddy Capes, there's more than zombies to worry about. Not only do you have the threat of other enclaves, not only do you have the threat of actual supervillains who have taken over these enclaves and rule them with an
And
iron
what
fist
and what your resources.
and want your resources, but you have all kinds of other strange things. You have strange zombies. You have you have you have drones, robots walking around that some mad scientist released on the world, and now you have to deal with them. Um, you have abominations.
Abominations. Right.
Yeah, and abominations. Um, there's a lot of ways to use abominations. It's really a catch-all. The main story of abominations in Roddy Capes is anybody who had a recessive alpha gene that got bit and turned into a zombie. It just mutated them and gave them weird powers. The best way to think about them, they're the weird boss level monsters that you had to deal with in Resident Evil. It's the best way to think about them. But also, because of how the system works, you can use abominations to make demons, to make actually I use them to do animated skeletons because in my first edition game they met a necromancer and he was animating skeletons like just out of D&D. I used abomination stats. Um, One of the abominations in the book that I put in there just to kind of prove how crazy you could get is a carnivorous plant that appeared right before Z-Day, and the heroes didn't have a chance to take care of it, and now it's loose. So I did that so you
And
could see how crazy you could get with abominations.
one of our most iconic pieces of art is of this humongous zombie that looks, Titanic, ripping the arm off of one of the guards or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's an
a
abomination.
that's an abomination, but they all come in different shapes, sizes, and motifs, so you can get very creative.
Yep. My favorite one.
I can't. Mhm.
That's in the book. Um, there's one I created called Silver Kong. He was a silverback ape that just happened to have a recessive alpha gene, got bit, turned into like an 18-foot abomination of a silverback, and has taken over a zoo and protects his pod, from zombies. And the zoo is his territory. And the interesting thing about him, he actually speaks sign language. So if one of the players comes up to him peacefully, you might be able to communicate with him, which might be an interesting story.
Unless he's hungry. So,
Then you're toast.
well, then you're tough. As you know, I can't see the questions. So, do we have any questions? I don't want
Yeah, we do have another one. Actually, there's two.
to. Okay.
Okay, cool. Um, okay, there's RP and social situation mechanics. There are no hard social situation mechanics, but there are enclave mechanics that do come into play. Enclaves have three stats, which are kept hidden from the players. Um, One is morale, one is resources, and the other one's population. Um, and they go down or up depending on the hero's actions or inactions. The morale of the enclave is very important. And I say in there, do not tell the players their stats, their score. Show them their score. People start fighting. People stop agreeing. Maybe they stop trusting you. Other than that, there's no hard mechanics. I always felt that mechanics kind of got in the way of good role playing. You still do have personal flaws, which can come into play during a scene, and if the player plays into their flaws to their detriment, they could win plot points. And that will be an interesting thing to use, especially during social encounters. Perfect example is the ex-villain. The player might go, you know what, bro? I'm an ex-villain. Nobody's trusting me on this one. And you could play that up. So there's no hard RP mechanics. I didn't want to create like a mechanical overlay that slowed it down. It's just role playing and your personal flaws coming into effect. Oh, by the way, cast members get personal flaws as well. So you get to play up their personal flaws also. Another question we have: do wildlife get Z'd or are they immune? We really don't define that. I always played it that they were immune. As a GM, because the rules are there. If you want to, as Albert's saying, oh, walking through the forest in a pack of zombie monkeys, you could totally do that. You could grab the stats for a normal zombie, give him a climb speed, uh, maybe give him like a throwing attack, like they throw rocks at you or something, and go to town. That's really left up to the the editor in chief, and how he wants to treat the animals. I always treated them as they couldn't get infected.
Well, I think it also has a lot to do with, and this is, I don't believe we nail this down because we want it to be open for the editor in chief. What is the source of the epidemic? What is the source of the infection, the virus that is doing this? Um, I have a very, in my personal opinion and the games that I run, I have a very um, concrete idea of where and how the virus starts, how it spreads. One thing that is, um, just so you know about this infection thing, uh, you have to die to become a zombie, right? So the bite, think of the bite. I've always thought of the bite of a zombie like a Gila monster's bite, or I'm sorry, no, a Komodo dragon's bite,
Yep.
filled with bacteria and venom and infectious type of viruses. So when they bite you, it's almost like a guaranteed uh, sepsis or infection in that respect. Um, one doesn't just shrug off, a bite. I mean, a solid bite, a scratch or whatnot. You could probably just burn that off, and that's why we have the mechanic of you actually being able to burn the infected area and cauterize it, hopefully killing the disease. But if you wait a while and it festers, it's you're going to have, even if you survive the quote unquote the bite and you don't turn into a zombie because you don't die, you'll probably be feverish, weakened. You should role play that. Role play a character that's coughing, that's weakened.
Yeah.
The editor in chief may lower your stats, but I think it would be worth a plot point or two if you
Yeah.
did that yourself. Hey, you know what? I'm feverish. I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing double. So I'm going to give myself a disadvantage on shooting, for example, if you're playing the arc lightning kind of character, from afar. These are all things that can be done, um, that basically makes the gaming table of a Rod of Capes game so different from anything else you might be able to play.
Yeah. Yeah. That's in the game. If you give yourself complications that are to your detriment, the GM is encouraged to give you plot points. And
So let's talk about
interesting
plot
thing,
points.
huh? Plot
Don't
points.
forget to talk about plot points.
Yes.
No,
So
finish your thought. Yeah, yeah, finish
oh,
your thought, but
so
don't forget to
about the
talk.
hey, calm down about the Z virus. Um, if you have powers, it's harder to resist. The more powers you have, and the higher rank they are, the harder your saving throw gets. That's why all the A-listers got Z'd so quickly. For some
Right.
reason, it really affects people with powers. Now, we got another question
All
from
right.
Zelzadi. Do players have a way to change the morale of the Enclave? Since the Enclave has a score, is it mechanically modified by the player's actions or inactions? Yes, it is. The player's actions or inactions can raise and lower it. Also, in between sessions, players have something they called a Enclave interlude, which is what you do between issues. You could use them to invest in your Enclave, or you could use them to, raise morale or gather some more resources. It's a balancing act between your personal uh your personal stories, like I want to work up a mechanic shop because my guy's a mechanic and I want to be able to fix their truck, and maintaining the Enclave. Also, actions during the game, the GM could say, you know what, morale just went up because they just saw you take down a kaiju, hypothetically. So, yeah, players' actions do modify them in the game, and during the game, and in between sessions. Um, Plot points. So, plot points are a meta currency that players could use to do cool stuff in the game. The way they get them is by playing up their flaws to their detriment in the scene, using their tagline at the perfect moment. Every hero has a tagline. Like the Thing with Clobbering Time, or Hulk with Hulk Smash. You come up with a tagline. If you use it at just the right moment, you get awarded, and it's cool, you get a plot point. Um, if you abuse it and you're like, I never fall, you're not going to get plot points. You need to use it sparingly and in a cool way. Or if you come up with a really cool idea that's outside the box that blows the entire table away, you get a plot point. What can you do with plot points? Well, plot points, you can re-roll any die roll. You could stabilize yourself when you're dying. You can give a plot point to another player that they could spend. Um, and you could use it to give disadvantage to the editor in chief on any roll. Or, the coolest parts, you could use it to edit the scene, or you could use it to do the impossible. with, of course, the editor in chief's approval. Editing the scene is like changing an aspect of the scene to your advantage. It's not an I win button. It's something cool that gives you an advantage at the moment or saves you. In one of my games in first edition, because Plot Die had the same ability, we were fighting on top of a skyscraper in Miami, and I punched somebody, and they literally flew off the skyscraper, and they were going to fall to their death. They didn't have a flying ability. The player dropped a Plot Die and said, "Hey, there's a cell phone antenna that I fly right past. I'm going to grab it and use it to fling me back onto the building." That's a good use of a plot point. One of the coolest uses of a plot point was at Origins last year when I ran a table Rotted Capes at night. I was describing this mall that was completely surrounded by hordes of zombies, and this one guy created a character who was an electrician before being a superhero. And he went, "Pete, I'm going to spend a plot point. I used to work on this mall. I know where the access tunnel is for the power company." I was like, "That's ingenious. Give me that plot point." And they got into the mall through the access tunnel. One thing, doing the impossible. For example, if you want to pull the out of the Matrix Trinity, jumping off a roof, down across the street, landing into a small window, rolling down the stairs perfectly so she's aiming her guns up, you could do it. That's doing the impossible. If the GM approves, hand them a plot point and you pull it off. It's basically a way to enforce the rule of cool and let players come up with really cool stuff they could do. Now, there's another side to plot points. The editor-in-chief gets the ones that you spent. The editor-in-chief could use them with his villains, or, it even says in the book, he could use them to help you. If you come up with some great idea, you don't have any plot points, but it's such a great idea, he could be like, "You know what? Here's one of my plot die. Here you go, use it, it's one of mine, it doesn't come back to me." The editor-in-chief is encouraged to be a fan of the heroes. You're there to tell a really cool story together, and sometimes your plot points could be used to nudge things in the hero's favor. Don't get me wrong, maybe you trap the Super Z under a building, and I go, "No, you don't." He steps steps away from the falling debris, just enough space so he could get out next turn. I could do that too. So, plot die are really cool meta currency that once people really get into it in the game, they really get into it. Especially like playing with kids, like they look at those flaws and they just lean into them, and it's great because those plot points just start flying around the table, and it creates a lot of energy at the table, especially when people are coming up with cool stuff they could do. When you want to do a power stunt for the first time, you have to spend a plot point. So a lot of players will be like, "Oh, I have a cool idea how to use my powers," spend a plot point, and try to use your powers in an interesting way. Yeah. Albert, Grave 580, my boy Albert, has a question. Can you give a rough example how combat works in this system? Okay, yes, you can use plot, and how can you use plot points in combat? Yes, you can use plot points in combat. You're only allowed to use one plot point per action. You can't just keep spending plot points. The way you use plot points in combat, you can give yourself advantage to a die roll, or you could use it to attempt a power stunt. Excuse me. Combat works a lot like 5th edition. The only difference is that there's no classes that get there's no classes, and there's no way to really get multiple attacks in one action. There's a way to reduce the speed of an action with the celerity power, so you can make a bonus action, and then take a bonus action and an action. So that's like the only way you could really get multiple attacks in. But combat works the same way as it works in 5th edition. You roll initiative. That gives you your initiative order. Everybody takes their turn. You get a bonus action, and a move. You roll d20 to hit a target number. Instead of armor class, we kept the 3 defenses from the original Rotted Capes. So when you attack either avoidance, fortitude, or willpower, depending on the power or the type of attack you're doing. Once you hit a target, you do stamina damage. If you roll critical, instead of stamina damage, you deal a wound. You still deal stamina damage, but you deal a wound. Also, the other way to get a wound is if somebody deals enough stamina damage that after reduction of damage by armor, if you suffer more damage than your fortitude defense, you also suffer a wound. So, again, I did say this game is deadly. You could literally get critted and get 2 wounds. You could get 1 wound from taking a wound and 1 from getting too much stamina damage.
From taking a crit.
Yeah, from taking a crit. You can take 1 from taking a crit and then get another wound from taking too much stamina damage. Heck, that happened at my Origins table. Arc Lightning got hit with a freaking flying chair and took 2 wounds. The Abomination threw a chair at him and pinned him to a wall. Sosi asks, wow, there are kaiju? Yes, you can have kaiju. You can make an Abomination. You can make them huge. And you have your kaiju. So if you really want to throw kaiju at the heroes, there's nothing stopping you. Zelzaddy asked, how varied are powers? How hard are they to build? Is it like Champions with massive build options? Okay, so there are over 100 powers. I think there's 109, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of powers, bro. I went crazy. There's a lot of powers. So when you are making character creation, I'm going to walk you guys through character creation, because that will answer your question about powers. So every choice now is siloed. The original character creation of Rotted Capes was a pain point. You had a bunch of points that you had to spend throughout every step, and sometimes you would want to go back and refund some points, and then go back and forth, and it was a pain, especially for new players. So instead now, everything is siloed. You pick your origin. When you pick your origin, you get ability score bonuses, and you get an origin feature. When you pick your archetype, you get a bonus feat, and you get bonuses to ability scores. Then you pick your ability scores. You have 2 options. You have an array, or you have point buy. You buy your ability scores, you add your modifiers, you're done there. Then you get to your powers. When you get to your powers, you have a choice between an array of points, point buy, or power sets. Power sets are for the truly lazy player like my friend Albert, who is like, I'm playing a blaster, I'll take the blaster powers, I'm done. It's a set of powers with a bunch of points, with the scores already added to it. You're done. In the main book, we just have 1 power set per archetype. In the future, we're definitely going to throw more power sets out there to make it easier for people to make cool characters. An array works just like the 5th edition array, except you have arrays for 2 powers, 3 powers, 4 powers, and 5 powers. You just pick the score and apply it to the power. Point buy is point buy. The scores are just like ability scores for abilities. So they're like, an 18 is a +4. Now, beyond your powers and your score, you could apply power perks or power flaws. They either raise your score or lower your score depending on what you pick. So, for example, you could pick okay, here we go. You could pick penetrating power, burnout, and an increased burnout and undependable. And at that point, you would get a +8 to your power. But every time you use your power, there's a 50% chance it doesn't work. It does ignore a certain amount of DR, and it costs double its burnout value. Give and take. Now, a lot of people automatically will hear this and be like, oh my god, my players are going to go nuts, and they're going to get a power, and they're going to rank it all the way up with all these flaws. There's a limit. There's something called a rank cap. Depending on what rank of hero you are, your ability scores cannot get above, or your powers cannot get above a certain number. Anything above that is considered untapped potential, and you can't access it. Maybe the GM will let you access it as doing the impossible for a scene, and you drop a hero plot die, and you say, I need to save my friends. I'm gonna raw with your powers. So those are how you get your powers. Then after that, you have one bonus feat and one skill set. You get to describe the skill set, or you get to pick one from a bunch that I came up with, and you get to pick one feat. Then you also get the choice of either an additional feat or an additional skill set. Skill-based heroes get that choice again of an additional feat or additional skill set. That's that silo. The next silo is picking your character's weakness. If you want one, don't have to pick one. Depending on how many, the power and the severity of your weakness, you could get one feat, or you could get 2 feats. One feat or 2 feats. Then there is, so that's your weaknesses. Then you have your finishing touches. You get to pick your tagline, your weaknesses. It says to pick one weakness, one personal flaw. You could pick more. Most players I noticed pick 2. Some pick 3. Then you do your calculations, like your defenses and your starting stamina and your starting wounds. All heroes start with 3 wounds. There's exceptions on being able to start with 4 wounds, but it's not easy. You have to pick the right feats and blah, 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 blah. Then you get to pick your gear. You get a certain amount of points that you can buy your gear with. But everybody starts with a go bag, which is a collection of gear that you automatically start off with. You start off with 1 sidearm and 1 melee weapon of your choice. One thing that I changed from the original version of the game is you don't track ammo anymore. Any scene that you use your gun that has a particular type of ammo, you roll a d6. On a roll of 1, you're out of ammo. Period. You're out until you find more ammo that fits that gun. So if you're using a gun that uses medium ammo and you run out of ammo, you don't have any medium ammo. A friend of yours, an ally, could give you a reload, but at the end of the scene, both of you are automatically out of ammo. So ammo, guns are great, but when you run out of ammo in a zombie apocalypse, good luck finding the right type of ammo in the future. When you start a new session, a new issue, everybody is assumed to have already, found ammunition and stuff, unless you want to play hard mode, and you still haven't found any. And the last step, which we already went over, is creating your supporting cast. Every player gets to make 2 members of the cast. Depending on your feats that you picked, your supporting cast could be a sidekick, could be a highly trained individual with a good skill set and maybe a feat. Or you could just make normal people, and there's some skill sets for average people, and they will automatically get a skill set. And that's pretty much, that is character creation. We have a question.
From
Um,
from whom?
we have Grumpy Lizard. Oh, cool! You made it, bro. Awesome.
Hey,
Um,
how's it going,
is
Bill?
Yeah, dude, it's good seeing you, bro. Is there another game system that Rowdy Capes 2B is similar to help me help imagine flow of play? Yes. Um, Combat feels like 5th edition. It runs like 5th edition, but it runs a little bit faster because you don't have people doing multiple attacks or and stuff like that. It's you have one action go, which kind of feels like the original Rowdy Capes, except that you don't have a clock to worry about, which kind of slowed things down. You just go and move on. You do have reactions that can be triggered. If somebody leaves your area, you do get a reaction. You can get an opportunity attack, and there's powers that work on reactions, like force field or shielding, like Captain America. That would be a reaction. So yeah, the flow of the game kind of feels in combat like 5th edition D&D, but um, out of combat with skill sets, it doesn't feel like D&D at all. You really need to. It encourages you to think. You're not just looking at your character going, okay, perception is under wisdom, blah 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 blah. You get to describe why your character could do this, why your character has this. Sometimes you're tapping into the backstory. One of the rules I have in the game is called the deep cut. If a character with a skill set that really doesn't come into play often comes into play in an exceptional way, they get advantage on their skill check. Because it's like their moment. It's like the spotlight is on them. It's that one moment they get to go, ha! Yes, I have lived for this moment. It's that one moment for them. Um, so, yeah, skills don't work like they did in 5th edition. They're cooler. They really encourage you to be creative and tell a good story. Other than that, yeah, everything else runs like 5th edition. Um, Enclave actions aren't like 5th edition. The way you gain new powers, like leveling is not like 5th edition at all. It's completely different. The way you gain new powers or so there's two types of power tricks. There's emulated powers, and there's power tricks. Emulated power is when you copy a power with a power, and you copy it at -6 to the power score. For example, I have telekinesis. I want to emulate the power of telekinetic blast. You can. That would be energy blast, kinetics for the damage type, at -6, and that would be a power stunt that you attempt. Once you successfully attempt a power stunt 10 times, you could then take a feat to learn it permanently. You no longer have to spend a plot point. You no longer have to make a power check. It just works. That's emulated powers. Power stunts are you come up with something really cool that you describe to the GM. Both of you kind of negotiate. Okay, you know what? It's cool. It's going to cost an extra point of burnout, and blah 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 blah. Like for example, you want to do the Colossus, the Cyclops bouncing your eye beams and hitting more than one target. You could do that. There's a bunch of sample power tricks in the book that kind of give you an idea how to build them. And again, when you are learning them, you have to use a plot point. Once you've learned it 10 times, you can take a feat to learn it permanently. So that's that. Somebody. So that's the flow of the game, how it plays.
Before
Plot points add a lot to it because as a player, you'll find yourself making unoptimal decisions to get that plot point, and it makes the game more fun. For example, every time that somebody plays Velocity at my table, they get in trouble because Velocity has Impatient and Lone Wolf as its flaws. Every game, somebody gets in trouble with Velocity, which is perfect because he's supposed to get in trouble.
hey
I have
Pete,
another.
Pete, before you continue, just a
Yes.
heads up. We've been at this for over an hour already,
Yep.
so we should try to wrap things up in about
Yeah.
10 minutes or so at
One more
11:30.
question that's a really good one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sosi asked, how are zombies killed? Headshots only? Yes and no. So, zombies have no stamina. Zombies only have wounds, which means there's two ways to do damage to them. Either do more damage than their fortitude defense, dealing a wound, or getting a critical. There are certain maneuvers that will help you do more damage to get past that. For example, team maneuver. Two players attack a target, one as their reaction and one as their action, and they get to combine their stamina damage to bypass the fortitude defense of the target. There's another maneuver called headshot. That if you successfully hit the target and they are a weak zombie, they're instantly destroyed. If they're a stronger zombie, you do double stamina damage to do a wound. So yeah, shooting them in the head, yes. Mechanically, you're doing more damage than their fortitude defense. Normal zombies have one wound, and they have very low stamina. They're really easy to take out. I lowered the stamina because I want a common bystander with a shotgun to be able to take out one lone zombie. Because lone zombies aren't that dangerous. Hordes of zombies are dangerous. That's it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Any other questions before we call it a night? Because we've been at this for 1 hour and 29 minutes. Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay, guys. Well, I would
All right.
like to thank all of you guys for showing up. I greatly appreciate you guys showing up to the first stream of Stat Monkey Presents. That's not a game. We will be doing stuff like this in the future. I just don't know exactly when we're going to do it, but we are going to do stuff like this. My friend there, Zelzaddy, has convinced me that I need to work on my social media presence. So, onward. Again, thanks everybody for showing up.
What? Whoa. Hold on.
Yes, yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
For those of you who caught it in the middle or towards the end and didn't want to listen to the entire spiel, you'll be sending out links to your YouTube channel, correct?
Yep,
Which we
yep.
will host it there. I'll put it on the backer kit as an update, and you'll be able to find the link there, as well as our Facebook page. We have Erotic Capes Facebook page. We have the Paradigm Concepts Facebook page, and it's also on. We also have an Instagram page, I believe.
And
Correct?
we're on Blue Sky. There is
That's
the
true.
Rotted Capes account on Blue Sky, and I'm on Blue Sky as Stat Monkey.
Perfect. So, and also, we have resuscitated our ailing website so that at least we can post new stories.
Yay!
So I'm sure people will be putting up the link
Yes, I'll put it up.
either tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll put it up as soon as it comes live. I'm going to do a quick little edit to it, but it'll be up tonight.
Fantastic. So, as always, thank you all. We appreciate your support. Those of you who have supported us on the backer kit.
Yep.
And thank you, Pete. Appreciate it.
And thanks for joining me, Henry. Bye,
No,
guys.
no problem, buddy.
Thanks for showing up.
Take care.
Good night, guys.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.